Changes coming August 1st. There is a lot of questions, and again, I'm going through this learning curve myself, is trying to get everything to align, right, to educate the public. And I mentioned what I plan to do, but I feel like this is happening for a lot of people, right? They're confused. The website, the YouTube channel, the X, Elon, thank you, and the Substack account. So I want to simplify in this video, what are the differences and the most important thing. Okay, the website has everything. It will include every aspect of the long wave. And you can see I break it up. The economy, contratos, monetary wave, markets, questions, real estate, the model, and there'll be the political cycle as things change. So if you want to be able to reach me, this is where you can reach me, to subscribe to the newsletter or join Substack or other contacts, or if you need to contact me directly. This is where it would be the focal point. What I'm changing as of August 1st is the Substack account will simply be the tactical asset allocation model moving forward, right? 100%. And in that, a lot of people are looking for direction, where to allocate their capital, their savings, their investment, real estate, and so forth. So I won't get into the politics or the social cycle. It will be simply a place you want to subscribe to a model and have access to the satellite view. And the reason why it becomes so important, why I've launched it now, is that economic winter is knocking on our door, and this is where the markets are very volatile, right? It's 29 to 46. It's in the U.S., North America. It's 1989 to present in Japan, right? Buy and hold went out the door, didn't work anymore. And you want to be allocated according to valuations in the business cycle. So if you're just interested in what to do with your capital, the Substack account will only focus on that. I won't do other things because other people aren't interested in the long wave or information, right? The website and now YouTube would be an education place. On X, you will find me alluding to different aspects, things that are happening currently and how they relate to the long wave or contrative cycle, and Schumpeter's technology revolution, but everything, the economics, the social, the political, technological, and long wave theory, right? Because everything's going to be changing dramatically over this period. So that's where you can find me. Now here, of course, on YouTube, what I'm doing, this is a way to educate you, and people are really liking the simplicity, the short videos, the graphics, and the charts, and so forth. So it'll be general information. It's not specific. I can't be specific for obvious reasons because I'm not an advisor anymore. But you can learn everything regarding the long wave here, and that'll be a place where you have access to every aspect of the long wave, and you can learn some information, right? Now, I've said, let's just talk about the model. And if you understand, physics and some science, and if you understand this, then your whole world looks differently. Well, that concept I learned actually the last year I left in the investment business after 23 years. And at the time, almost 15 years studying the long wave. When this came across my radar, I don't know why I missed it, then everything made sense. Booms, bust, centralization, decentralization, wars, creative destruction, right? There's cycles. No, nothing lasts forever, right? Schumpeter says it perfectly, creative destruction. In simplicity, the contrative cycle, the fourth one that is about to end, is what we designed after World War II. Doesn't work anymore. We're just indebting. We're trying to keep the system we designed after 46 alive, and that's going to collapse. Plain and simple. And if you can't accept that, then this is the wrong place, right? But this is the reality, because we can't support the sick care system, the pension system, the real estate economy. because we're really driving growth through indebtedness instead of productivity. And if you don't have productivity, you're not creating wealth. If you're not creating wealth, you're not seeing rise in wages. If you're not seeing rise in wages, then taxes will diminish. And if taxes diminish, you can't support the social programs. It's that simple, right? The long wave, each long wave takes off because of new technology and very low debt levels, privately and government. This last long wave, or at the beginning of last life, governments became very indebted because of the Great Depression, but the private sector deleveraged dramatically in a high savings rate. Now, some quick information. I'm going to cover this again. My first 10 years in the business, I've been devastated. I learned from this great man because he had the great track record in terms of value investing. And after losing so much in real estate, it made sense to buy low, sell high, and he had a formula. And personally, I only think there's two ways to invest if you want to preserve your wealth. That is value investing, never overpaying for an asset, especially one that's over leveraged or based on credit and cheap credit, if you understand what I mean. And Tommy asked basically is that long-term real estate prices, and I found the research to back that up, long-term prices fluctuate in and around incomes, real incomes, and inflation. And if you look at the numbers in Canada and most places, we're extremely overvalued by 50%, and that will be corrected. And also Peter Kundal, a great man, classy. They don't make these type of men anymore. I remember he had a bad year in 98, and we're at a conference, and people were, picking on him because of his performance. And he just said classically, well, my head was handed to me on a silver platter. He didn't make any excuses, not like today. Oh, by the way, these gentlemen at the time, and it changed during the 90s, and that's another video, used to hold 30 to 50% cash. Well, think about that. Who does that today? I don't know if any. We hear about Warren Buffett, and he has, $120 billion in cash. Why do you think that? You think that this very successful man who runs sort of quasi-value growth knows something that other people should pay attention to? Well, these value managers did the same thing. If markets became too expensive, they would build up cash. And if you had a collapse, let's say theoretically 90%, what they were holding was usually speculative, so they might have a 25% drawdown, but with a lot of cash, so they wouldn't be hurt. And this came from the value investing after Benjamin Graham lost a lot of money during the 1930s. A wise old man at the time told him to get out of the market and didn't pay attention to him. He was in his 90s, warning Benjamin Graham. And then security analysis was born out of the Great Depression. So this is how all this started. And by the way, the Dow theory was around before that and telling people to leave the market. Now, obviously, this is about the long wave. So the basis behind the model is simply following the original works of Kondratiev. It's very simple once you've studied it long term, understanding the cycles, the waves. But what we know is we've added some work since that time. And Michael Alexander used to be on the long wave. He wrote a fantastic book, technically very heavy. This is really for researchers, and he came up with the term the monetary wave. It's a great reference book. It's one of my favorites, and I had to buy a digital one because my hard copy fell apart. So the model is built on the initial workings of Peter Kundal and Templeton in terms of value. Is the market cheap or expensive? That's the most important criteria to preserve your wealth. But the timing was hard. Sometimes they'd be value investors and they'd be out of the market. So it would make sense to have a model. So after being a little bit early, I was right about the market collapse in 2000, but I was early and I started moving clients out in 1998. And so it was a painful year and a half. And I think I lost 25% of my business. But when the collapse came, my business tripled. So I was wondering if there is a way to work around that, and I came across technical analysis. He's the granddaddy, I think, in terms of this book is so thick in terms of technical analysis. And I found out later he had a long wave model. Wow. Well, it's an American version. Why not make a Canadian version of it? And it allocates a core to where you are in the business cycle. It's just common sense to me. Now, I've added a couple things to that. I've added he doesn't have it in there, but I've added the Cousinate cycle because the real estate cycle is very important. And I think we all know why. That's a leveraged asset and how it's performing. And that's why right now, if you look at Mastering Market Timing, this is another book that's part of the analysis. But if you understand what drives the economy, and the three core things, of course, technology is driving the productivity. It's what's creating the wealth and why there's 8+ billion people on this planet who are standard of livings continue to improve. Mind you, it's going in reverse in the developed world. But the key was learning where we are in the long wave, where we are in the Cousinets or real estate cycle and the business cycle, and then looking at valuations. Does that make sense? So then this no longer occurs. So what I'm doing is allocating based on valuations, where we are in the business cycle, where we are in the long wave, and of course real estate, and ultimately the financial cycle. So that's a lot. So why not have one place where that will be answered for you, right? So you just come to this place and it'll be a place to talk about the model. Now, you can subscribe for free and you'll get some information, but the paid subscribers will have access to the model. And I've made it affordable. Any person can afford to purchase. This is not just for the wealthy. If you want individual service, you can subscribe on the website and to have a conversation with me, your advisor, and yourself, or your tax, whatever it is. And what does the model say? Right? It's not what I think. I built this on history because as soon as I start to have an opinion, then my emotion's tied to it, and then I'm going to have some errors. I just pay attention to what's working. And a lot of people, for example, a lot of people are dismissing a oncoming recession, but the financial cycle has peaked. And it peaked a year and a half ago. And the financial cycle is driven by the price of credit, and that's been rising. It's being driven by credit growth. It's slowing dramatically. It's also important about the money supply. Well, all three are negative. So that obviously says the brakes are here, but it takes a while to work through the economy. And that pain will show up probably in the second half this year, but definitely or definitively by next year, if that makes sense. So again, if you just want an education, go to the website. You want to learn about your YouTube, and this is what I'm doing. This is a little bit longer, but I'm going to keep them as short as possible. Have a chart, telegraph what's the story, what can we learn from this, and then if you need to take specific actions, you don't know what to do, then you can subscribe. Right? That's the only thing you have to pay for on this on the research that I do. And that is specifically for the models. What does it say every single week? If you're a really simple person, then the Friday update, the weekend update will be the only thing. Even there, you need to pay attention to. That is, okay, what does the model say? You know, one of the reasons too, and I'll end it on this, why I love this with the technology is I can do this anywhere in the world and reach one person or a million at the same time, record a video within 24 hours, 48 hours. Most people receive the information and then they can act in 48 hours. If I had 1,000 clients, or I forget my 12, 1,100, let's say clients, it would take me 6 months to change each portfolio, call them up. Listen, I got to make this change to the portfolio. And so this is a competitive advantage. I could inform you very quickly. And as we know, markets, when they start to unwind, you want to have a heads up before it starts to unwind, not be contacted 6 months later. That's a big reason why I love this. a way to reach people and where they can benefit. Okay, so I hope all this makes sense. There's no more noise. There's none of this that is occurring in simplicity. The website and YouTube will be a place where you can access the information about the long wave and learn at your own pace. Videos are great because you can stop and start it. But the Substack is where you'll have access to the model, and it'll only be focused on the markets, the economy, and anything related to what the model is telegraphing, whether avoiding technology stocks or buying them, or allocating equities, or avoiding bonds, or increasing your cash, or gold, silver, or how to profit and what's coming. But most importantly is how to get you through economic winter. That's the benefit of the model, to get you through economic winter. So think of Japan and knowing what was coming in Japan and working through. Because if you look at a Japanese market, and I'll talk about this in the future, if you look at the Japanese market, I mean, the market dropped, what, 80 plus %? Well, imagine being able to avoid that. And it's only about to hit its old high that it hit back in 89. Well, imagine being able to avoid all that slaughter and then able to invest after, or avoiding the collapse in 1929 to 33. Who cares what happened? If you step back, and by the way, Joseph Kennedy did avoid that massacre. That's how he tripled his net worth during the Great Depression. But imagine being able to allocate in 32 and then the markets tripled. They were so cheap. That's the whole reason behind this. So that's what it does is and I designed it for myself as a baby boomer because the markets are super expensive. We're coming to the end of a super cycle, or the big credit cycle, or in their different names of the long wave, where society will be forced to deleverage. And in this time, the governments also. And that will come from the bond market. Anyways, I've said enough. Trying to always keep this short. Trying to get a little bit better every time I'm doing this. So I hope you find it informative and you're learning something from it. And I'm trying to avoid this on an ongoing basis. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and let other people know who would benefit from these insights. Talk to you again.